Wait, is it small talk or small talk with an O? I guess we have a question from D Advisor. He'd like to know how diligent.
How diligent I am.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely depends on what the area of concern is. I'd say definitely DeFi protocol design. I'd like to think I'm obsessively diligent. Designing, choosing stuff that goes into my pre-workout every day. I'm pretty obsessive and weird and diligent about that. Other things like keeping my office super clean, I'm not diligent about. It's pretty messy in here. So yeah, it depends on what the thing is. I can go from not diligent at all if it's not something that I really get obsessive about to probably like top point something percent diligent for things that I do obsess about.
Thank you for the wonderful intro, you guys. That was awesome. Welcome to the 17th Graze recordings running, and we solved the echo problems. Thank you we already had a question from the audience, which is really nice. Like right off the bat, we like to start out the show with Q&As, and then we end the show with Joey explaining what the product is. Like we worked this son of a bitch backwards. I have screaming kids today, obviously, because it's St. Patrick's Day, and they got Mario Kart for St. Patrick's Day, so they're extremely jacked up. Thanks for coming on. Joey, did you have anybody else come in from your project?
No, I think I'm the only one joining the stage. We do have some friends in the audience, though. I see Ica, I see Alice, I see Sodium Star. These are all core. Ica is literally on the core team. Alice and Sodium Star is an early angel. Alice is one of the most active, helpful members of our community. So
Nice.
I don't think any of them are coming on the stage. They're welcome to if they want to, but those are some of the
Yeah,
tentpole
Odin
members.
said that Alice is single-handedly responsible for keeping the peg of the note NFTs.
I know we have a channel in our Discord that's just a bot that our lead dev Shafu wrote that it lets people know and just sends a message when any of the notes are getting close to liquidation. And I just at mention Alice when one of them happens. So because we haven't written our automated like liquidation bot yet. Someone else is actually working on one who's not on our team. So yeah, Alice is like our manual liquidation bot. But no, Alice is building some other cool stuff on DYAD. They are welcome to describe that in detail later, but like things that allow like permissionless, you can permission your note to specific people or just make it permissionless so anybody can execute the mint and burn DYAD functions, which has some really cool implications. But before we get deep into that, let's
yeah, I want to give you a chance to intro and like actually explain the project, the name of the project. I haven't even said any words other than kerosene. Like I didn't even put like the project name or anything. I just on all the calls and everything, I just put kerosene because I love that as a token name. And I think it's a funny name, and then I can like make all kinds of jokes about it. And so you want to start out with just like the basic rundown of the project, and then obviously you're going through a big time like engagement like pump this week, right? You have like a ton of calls.
Yeah, so we're getting right to the point where we introduce kerosene, which ultimately is the introduction of the DYAD flywheel. And it's been a long process of creating the contracts, getting them audited thoroughly, and writing tests that have wide coverage, and sort of getting also on sort of the non-smart contract side, the actual like incentive and economic design really nailed down. Because basically what DYAD is intended to solve is this critical scaling issue with CDP stablecoins. So we believe, and I think it's kind of undeniable at this point, that the over-collateralized CDP is the most battle-tested form of a decentralized stablecoin. And I'm talking really about like stablecoins, not the sort of new brand of like stablecoin adjacent tokenized trades basically that do cool things but can't really function as a stablecoin and shouldn't be used that way. If you're designing something to do the job of a stablecoin, which is to first and foremost maintain its stability and by maintaining its stability, it ultimately means maintain external liquidity and maintain internal backing collateral. The external liquidity for redemptions, the internal backing collateral for liquidations. If you can do those two things, and you can kind of reduce the cost of doing those two things, you have a really powerful stablecoin. The problem with the CDP design, despite its battle-testedness and its sort of proving itself out through early Maker strayed a bit from the path, but definitely Liquidity, I'd say Curve USD is definitely in that category, is this trade-off between over-collateralization, which is necessary to absorb volatility of the backing collateral, and capital efficiency. Because the more, very simply, the more over-collateralized you are, the more it essentially costs in locked up collateral to issue a single dollar peg stablecoin.
And the more wasted the opportunity cost is on the tokens that are just sitting there locked in as over-collateralization.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So you see projects that have been pretty successful try to solve this mainly by onboarding yield-bearing collateral as their backing collateral, like literally liquidity forks that don't really do anything different other than switch out the raw ETH for an LST or now LRTs to fix that problem a little bit. It's still constrained though by this zero-sum trade-off between how much volatility can you absorb versus how much does it essentially cost in, as you said, opportunity cost to issue a dollar peg stablecoin. And with Liquidity's permissionless redemptions, you can see it sort of enhancing the issue almost, because you don't want to get permissionlessly redeemed against. So you see this like way higher than necessary level of overall collateralization for LUSD. I think it's at like, I need to check the dune. Maybe it's less now because ETH kind of retraced over the last few days, but it was like 400% the last time I checked, which is really more than is necessary to absorb the volatility of ETH. And it's just, it's just sort of like burning up your capital efficiency for no reason. So DYAD is essentially the best way to think about it, and we can get into the details, but the best way to think about it is it's a CDP, but we have this other token that is kerosene, and this is where the kerosene comes in and why kerosene is such a critical part of the system. Think of kerosene as like a synthetic share token of the over-collateralization buffer in the entire system. And I say synthetic share token because you can't like take your kerosene and burn it and get collateral out that somebody else deposited, but what it does is it allows you to mint more DYAD as if it is its own form of collateral alongside ETH or wrapped staked ETH, whatever the collaterals you accept. It allows you to mint DYAD against a portion of that buffer, basically that additional collateral that absorbs volatility. But its value is set deterministically, unlike the other collateral types, which are set by the market. So it is endogenous collateral, but it's not adding any TVL to the overall backing. It's basically just reallocating that buffer collateral that would otherwise just be sitting idle and creating opportunity cost. It reallocates that into positions.
Racking my brain. Hold on a second. Okay. That's a lot of information, and it's really good information, and I love it. And I was like trying to think of like a trendy like restaking, like LRT, like term, like we need to come up with an acronym for this, right? Like it's taking the backing that you have for DYAD and then repackaging it, synthetically restaking it or something like a flow chart for this.
So it's technically it is rehypothecation. That term has already become sort of an annoying cliche of this cycle.
It's a meme.
So
yeah,
we don't really say that. It's just it has negative connotations. Someone else mentioned recollateralization. That just sounds super sketchy. And the point of kerosene is that it's actually not sketchy, right? It's like, and the only type of endogenous collateral that could not be sketchy because it's not really collateral, and that's like the critical thing. It doesn't add, so when the overall system is the value equation for kerosene is just TVL, so the USD value of all the collateral types that everybody deposits in the system minus DYAD supply, so the total supply of DYAD stablecoins divided by the quantity of kerosene tokens that have been emitted at that point. So you basically, if you take our stats now, which are pre-flywheel, sort of small based on where we're going, but we have like, I think, let's just say for simplicity's sake, 1.5 million TVL, 500 million DYAD circulating. So that's $1 million of buffer basically. And then let's say that we have 1 million kerosene tokens emitted at that point. That means every kerosene token that you earn through LPing and add back into your position counts as $1 of additional value that you can use to support your DYAD debt.
So it's TVL minus DYAD divided by kerosene total float. What was the divide?
Correct. Divided by the total float, not by the total supply, which is a bit.
All right, I just wrote it down because I take notes in like the chat while we're running it, so that I can like. Got it. And plus, I'm recording it. Thank God, because this is like 2 days ago I did the Yeetards call where we just talked about throwing children's toys off the top of towers, and then now we're talking about like very complicated restaking concepts. So it's a big swing for me. Sorry for my tiny brain. It's also 9 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 9 in the morning here as well. I'm in San Francisco. So no, but it is a simple design that has the potential for a lot of complexity, and I think that's why describing it in this way, you can say it's a synthetic share token. You can say that it's just this equation of the extra collateral that would otherwise be sitting idle. Kerosene essentially reanimates it and basically ensures that it will be put to use. But critically, if like ETH retraces and all of its derivatives retrace, as we saw yesterday, I think we've hit some kind of like a local floor at this point. But when that happens, the value that the debt that kerosene can support basically immediately goes down as well. So in using kerosene, you have to realize that that's an ever-present possibility, and sort of design your positions accordingly. Because if you go under 150% minimum collateralization ratio, including your kerosene, you will be liquidated. So that's sort of how it works as collateral.
Okay, so I'll give you a chance to breathe. DYAD is the stable token, and then kerosene is going to be the synthetic one we just talked about. Those are the two products. Correct. Are they launching simultaneously, or is DYAD already live?
So right now, DYAD is live. Like I said, there's about 500K DYAD circulating right now, and like 1.5 to 2 million TVL, depending on what ETH is doing. And then mainly the reason people are doing that right now is to sort of pre-earn kerosene and earn sort of a retroactive drop. 1 second, I have kids.
No problem. And then also, don't let me forget, Dina, that I need to talk about the Alice's pet project, the Notes NFTs. Right, Alice?
Wait.
Trying to give Alice a chance to shill their NFTs in chat, and they're not striking while the iron's hot.
Say more.
Send link. I got the St. Patrick's Day situation handling here, 9 in the morning, and obviously we did London time because a lot of the.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay.
So, okay, DYAD's live and kerosene's getting airdropped.
That's right. So right now, DYAD's been going. Oh, and Buddy Wagecook just joined. He's one of the big LP whales at this point, so he's going to get a bunch of kerosene. But yeah, basically, DYAD is out. It's been out for just 3 months now, and we've kind of launched the base layer contracts about 3 months ago, like I said, on mainnet. Those base layer contracts are just so we use NFTs that we call notes that are just ERC 721 NFTs to basically wrap the position. So what would be called like a vault or like a trove, I guess, in liquidity parlance. And then that's where you deposit your collateral, and that's where the DYAD debt the DYAD that you mint against it is recorded. So we launched that sort of primitive, like 3 months ago. TVL is, between 1.5 and 2 million, about 500K DYAD. Most of it is in liquidity pools on Uniswap and Blueprint right now. And yeah, once we launch kerosene, which is going to be very soon, that will basically create like the actual reason, the demand for DYAD, because the way that you earn kerosene is by LPing DYAD. We're going to be introducing single-sided staking for DYAD as well, which is sort of like a stability pool, Sparkland combined. And then, yeah, the more kerosene you earn, essentially, the less expensive it is to maintain DYAD debt. And that competition for the lowest carry cost on your DYAD is kind of what the game becomes. The other cool thing about that is, given that equation that you wrote up in the chat, EVL minus DYAD over Kero total float, that in some ways sets a floor for the market price of kerosene. Because again, the protocol never considers kerosene's market value. Then it would be true endogenous collateral. It just looks at this deterministic equation and doesn't add any kerosene value to the TVL. But let's say kerosene starts trading below TVL minus DYAD over Kero float at some point. Immediately, this very simple ARB opens where anybody who has a note or has access to a note or can sell to somebody with a note can market buy that kerosene, and as soon as you deposit it in a note, it's more valuable essentially than what you paid for it, as DYAD collateral. And that, we'll see. We're friends with the team, the baseline team that built Yes on Blast. And we've had a lot of conversations about this sort of utility. I definitely don't call it up only technology, right? That's crazy. But it's definitely like floor establishment technology, which is kind of cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out once kerosene is live.
Yeah, so you've got so kerosene is going to incentivize the you to go farm. It's going to incentivize the growth of the TVL.
Yeah, exactly. Because in order
if you want to farm kerosene, you got to go farm. You got to go deposit and mint DYAD.
That's exactly right. The only way that you can earn the kerosene emission is by farming it.
Other than this first airdrop, which you guys announced on Twitter last week.
Correct.
Which is going to be, you picked like a group. What was it? It was us. Obviously, that's why you're on the call.
Yes.
I mean, all you gotta do to get on the Graze is just airdrop me a bunch of free tokens.
So yeah, it's you guys, it's Llamas, it's Wassies, it is Honeycomb, which is Barachain sort of club, and it is Miladies, who had an interesting time yesterday.
Good thing you didn't drop the kerosene before they got hacked.
Yeah, would not want to get that dumped all of a sudden. But no, I mean, even in let's take that as a potential scenario. Even if a bunch of kerosene was dumped all of a sudden, we will have this functionality that you can use kerosene to mint DYAD and to support DYAD debt from day one. So even if that did happen, that would get dumped into a group of, we have like 300 individual holders right now of 500 plus notes, who would have an immediate reason, regardless of price action, to accumulate that kerosene, because it would just let them either mint more DYAD, get their positions further from the liquidation threshold, or even, if they wanted to, keep their DYAD debt, but withdraw some exogenous collateral that they had deposited to do other stuff with it elsewhere in DeFi. So there's, it's not like a typical sort of like governance farm token that may have some utility sometime down the road, and it's really just based on speculation. And the rule is never buy a farm token that is like that. But kerosene is, as I described, and as you wrote down the equation, it has this fundamental functionality within DYAD that means it has no governance utility coming down the road at any point. So it's really clear like why you would want kerosene initially, regardless of speculation and price action. And that makes it would have been a little bit less of a disaster if a bunch of kerosene were captured and dumped all of a sudden. But still, I'm glad it didn't happen.
I like the market-based like peg keeping concept, you know. I mean, we've seen, I'm sure you have a lot of experience with watching pegs that haven't been kept, or markets or treasuries that trade under the intrinsic value. So you always have that in the back of your mind, that like that the market is not smart, and there's risk somewhere built in there. Like, you think it should be one, and it should be, and everything should stay perfectly pegged, but for some reason the market gets a hair up their ass, and they decide that they want you to discount you. Like, I mean, we deal with that with curve derivatives all the time, naturally, and we're doing it right now. But it is cool that it has like that incentivization concept of buy this kerosene for a discount, boost your farm, and be able to farm cheaper and get a higher APR. So like you're rewarding. It's a positive reinforcement peg system, kind of sounding.
Yeah, so let's separate this out a little bit. So you're 100% right that the more kerosene you earn through farming, the more efficient your farming becomes. Because the key to farming obviously is how much DYAD you can mint and how efficiently you can mint it, which means how much DYAD can you get versus how much exogenous collateral you have to deposit to hit your target collateralization ratio. So that is immediately improved by the more kerosene you can deposit, basically the less exogenous collateral you need in order to hit your target CR with a certain amount of DYAD debt. So that, yeah, exactly as you said, the more farming you do and the more kerosene you get, the more efficiently you can continue farming, which is absolutely what we want people to do. Now, the peg is based on, like I said in the beginning, it's basically just two things. It's external liquidity, so that's for redemptions. You need that. That's any stable coin. I think it gets to be an issue when you start using backing collateral for redemptions. Backing collateral is really to make sure that liquidations are incentivized in all conditions. So those are really the two things. You have to bring in more exogenous backing collateral, and you have this 150% MCR to sort of keep people on their toes if they want to farm aggressively. And then, the farming itself is a way of incentivizing the external liquidity, which keeps the peg through redemptions as inexpensively as possible, because you're basically doing it with this utility token that the more you earn, the more incentivized you are to farm aggressively.
Okay.
So that's
perfect. Thank you. And I'm sorry I strayed and used the P word.
no, it's all good. You're correct.
From the path. It's straight from the path.
I just want to be super clear about, peg, DYAD separates those two things very intentionally, right?
Right.
Like we have the notes, only notes can withdraw collateral. Nobody who's holding an DYAD can directly redeem and withdraw backing collateral that somebody else has deposited, even if they pay off their DYAD debt.
The only way is already kept through the initial over collateralization concept, separated from kerosene. Kerosene is an incentive tool.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Question about the NFTs. When you deposit and mint DYAD, your position is represented in the ERC 721. So
That's
everybody gets a token. I mean, like you have to have the NFT, and then the NFT, does it represent a certain position size, or is each one customized to each person's position?
Yeah, so the way that this works, there's a couple things going on. So every person who's using it, every user can, and many do, have multiple note NFTs. And there are some advantages to having that. So the first one is there's a maximum of 5 different collateral types, including kerosene, that you can have as your collateral basket in a single NFT. And that's just a limitation of how we need to run a for loop to check the Oracle price feeds and the deterministic value of kerosene to determine, is this position, is this NFT liquidatable, or is it safe? So if you want to, once we have more collateral types whitelisted, if you want to have more than 5, including kerosene, you need to have multiple NFTs. The second one, and this is a utility that we're building a little bit later this year. This is really, really important for the stickiness of external liquidity. But we're basically building the functionality where when you LP, you can take that LP token, whether it's Uniswap, Blueprint, whatever it is, and you actually stake it to a specific NFT or to multiple NFTs that you have. You just associate that LP token with the NFT. The longer, for every block that you have those LP tokens staked in your NFT accumulates this metadata trait that we call momentum. And momentum basically acts as a multiplier on your kerosene accrual for a given amount of LP token that you have staked. So what this means is the longer you have these LP tokens, essentially the best way to think about it is it's not exactly what's happening on chain, but the best way to think about it is the longer you have your LP tokens staked to your specific NFTs, the more momentum they accumulate. And this is sort of like a time reward separate from just the size of the LP that gets you more efficient kerosene accrual from those kerosene emissions. What this ultimately incentivizes is if somebody wants to rage quit DYAD and they just want to get their liquidity out and go on to do something else, there is a strong disincentive to unwind their position, to withdraw from the liquidity pools, to withdraw their exogenous collateral, and to burn their DYAD debt, and just kind of exit that way. The incentive becomes sell your NFT on secondary, and we already have I think like 20 ETH total secondary sales on OpenSea without any of this functionality. So every NFT is essentially identical right now. But once you have this momentum, which is a metadata trait and accrues over time, the secondary market will start to sort of use that as a source of price discovery, and will really pay more for NFTs that have higher momentum.
Yeah, you're going to be able to buy momentum.
Exactly. But your momentum goes away if you take out those LP tokens. So if you unstake those LP tokens. So what it means is you're basically selling intact LP positions, and that liquidity, even though it's not like, no one's going to put up with long 4-year locks of wrapped ETH. I mean, they'll do it with governance tokens. They're not going to do it with wrapped ETH. It allows you to rage quit and to pull out at any time, but it nudges you towards selling your NFT on secondary intact, which keeps that liquidity in the liquidity pool.
It's better. It's better for the protocol.
Exactly. It's better for the protocol. It's a way of allowing anyone to rage quit without actually removing liquidity from the system.
Now, the cool part about that concept for me, this is the first I've ever heard of this. This is amazing. I like the gamification function of it. It's like you're grinding a character on an MMO, and you're gonna be able to sell that work that you put into it. So like the momentum is a conversion of your time and your effort wrapped into metadata. Like that's a really awesome function. So you're not just like there to be like a tourist LPer and then bail. Like you're going to try to build your NFT into a stronger one than the rest and be able to sell that into the market and get a premium on your NFT, so your work is paid for. I mean, I love it. It's an awesome idea.
Exactly. Yeah, you said it really, really well. I think that's a perfect comparison. Like, yeah, when I was in college, I had a friend who failed out senior year because World of Warcraft had come out, and he was just obsessed with it. But he was able to when his parents had an intervention, or you have to stop playing this game, you're paying for college.
I'm still playing it, so fuck him.
he was able to sell his character for what seemed like a crazy amount of money at that point. I don't even. It was thousands. And yeah, that's a really, really good example. Another example that we use sometimes is when private equity takes over a distressed company. Often it makes more sense for them to sell the Aeron shares and sell all the stuff versus keep it going, and the stuff in the company is actually worth more than the company at a certain point. Normally that's not the case.
In the shelves.
Exactly. So that selling of the filing cabinets, the shelves, and the Aeron shares is the way people normally exit protocols. You just take out your liquidity, unwind your positions, and leave. which is not good for the protocol. This is more like, just like grinding a character in an MMO, your time is converted to value. This is the same thing, like selling the company intact. If you want to think of the company as the NFT with all the stuff in it, that has more value than its parts. And that building of more value than its parts is sort of again, we don't talk about it a ton right now because we haven't built it yet. But this year. I mean, this is why we start with these NFTs and why that's part of the base layer.
This flows back to the entire ethos of crypto for the llamas, for our group, and that is ownership of your time, ownership of your assets, ownership of your like. I just got done. I went to South by Southwest last week, and there was like 12 panels about how big tech is just fucking us constantly, right? Like, the fact that that's 100% take rate, like claw back your social graph and your ownership of your online identity, like that way that the note converts your time and effort and monetizes it and allows you to realize the fruits of your labor is a really big idea for crypto. And I think that it's probably one of the coolest things that I've heard about in the last month.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you get it immediately, right? And I'm going to use this MMO example when I talk about it in the future because I think it does describe exactly what we're going for. And you're right. I mean, I think the reason I got into building a stablecoin in the first place, it's definitely not like, especially as a U.S. resident, it's definitely not the easiest way to support your kids. Is this idea that instead of using our system right now of like basically a debt-based system to get leverage and efficiency from your assets, there is this fundamentally different way where you could just keep your assets, put them in a contract, and get a stable, useful thing from it, a stable coin. And just very clearly, like the thing that was holding this design back was that it's just really inefficient. So that's where we started thinking the two areas that are inefficient that are required for this to work are that external liquidity and that internal over collateralization, for those two reasons, right? Redemptions and liquidations. And so kerosene is how we solve the internal inefficiency. Word here, I'm not going to say publicly, rehypothecate it so that then the competition for access to that rehypothecated buffer, kerosene, solves the second issue, which is the cost of incentivizing external liquidity. And then, the NFT being a position makes it kind of enhances that even more in that it makes it stickier, and it also allows, with sufficient liquidity in the secondary market for these, allows you to exit at any point, giving you that optionality without making liquidity essentially more expensive for the protocol.
When you guys, there's a few people that joined late. Irate being the number one focus of this comment I'm about to make. You need to go back and listen to the recording, and we totally made fun of rehypothecation at the beginning of the call and all the buzzwords. So when we are saying it now, it's not completely with a straight face. we know that this rehypothecation thing is a meme. Okay, this is not, but it does actually work to describe the concept of what kerosene is representing.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that is the actual definition. I think that the term is used in DeFi now. It's like, anytime there's like a discussion about LRTs, and then like I think there was one protocol, I don't know if it was done as a joke or if it was serious, but like you can restake your restaked LRTs like another time, and like it's like the scene from The Big Short with the CDO manager in like the hibachi place, right? Like people just post a screenshot there because it's literally that, like a CDO of CDO with a synthetic CDO on top of it.
Yeah.
So I understand why there's so much cynicism around it. DYAD's rehypothecation is actually like pure rehypothecation, though, right? It's like a synthetic share token that entitles you to use a part of this buffer. That buffer's primary job, though, at all times, is to absorb the volatility and keep DYAD fully backed so that liquidations can proceed. Your share of that will grow and shrink depending on this very simple equation. So yeah, that's essentially it.
All right. Thank you for that amazing rundown. Sorry, made you talk for 37 minutes straight.
No, this is
I
awesome.
try to give you a little air occasionally. I got kids screaming in the background. You got kids screaming. The airdrop situation, like in the next couple weeks for this, is it going to be an automatic drop? Is it going to be mainnet only? Is it going to be? Do we need to do anything? Any action?
Yes, these are great questions. So yes, it's going to be on mainnet. We're going to have, and we're building it this weekend, but a simple claim page where initially you'll be able to just input wallet addresses and see what you are what you're going to be allocated. We've already taken the snapshot, and then when Kerosene we actually deploy the contracts, you will be able to go connect with your wallet that also has your llama or your other NFTs or your note in it, and you'll then be able to claim the kerosene at that point. So it's not an automatic airdrop. It's not just going to show up in your wallet. You do have to go to the claim page. But yeah, if you had these NFTs during the time that we took the snapshot, which is not very long ago, you'll be entitled to some kerosene.
Nice. Thank you for thinking of us and adding us into the group of that very high quality group there that we got. Miladies, just think of like the craziest, wackiest ones you can come up with, right? And throw us in there with the mix. I love it.
Well, it's just like, our thinking about who we were going to include in this drop. It's like who sort of exists in the both the cutting edge and also the fringes, and those two edges are not really differentiated in DeFi, which is part of what I love about this space so much. But like cutting edge / fringes of just DeFi and crypto overall. And so yeah, it was just kind of who's going to use kerosene, who's going to actually be interested in how it works, but who also has like a level of degeneracy that will really drive liquidity and price discovery.
That's us. Hey, you got us. You picked the right group. And plus, you got Odin and Alice already here, who are obviously members of your community to begin with.
Yes.
I had a bearish question. Sorry, I have to throw some not all softballs at you.
Yeah, of course.
So big time expensive to mint NFTs on mainnet. Like that was an issue that we were dealing with during our auction process. I don't know if you followed along with our auction, but it was $40 to settle auctions and send and mint and distribute NFTs is really expensive. So the note token, when you initially start your LP position and you mint a brand new note token that represents your position, it's got to be pretty expensive.
So
price prohibitive.
There's two sides to that. The first one is the gas cost, which, as you said, can be substantial on mainnet. But the second one, which is a lot greater, is there's no limit to the total quantity of note NFTs that can exist. It's unlimited by the contract, but they exist on this linear bonding curve. It's actually not a curve; it's a bonding line, right? Each one goes up by 0.001 ETH that's claimed. So the first one started way down there, and then each one went up by 0.001. The last one, which somebody claimed yesterday, number 512, was like 0.497 ETH, right? Which is not nothing at all. That's almost 2K. So that two things there. The first one is that is the single way that the protocol generates fees. There's no other fees throughout the protocol. And that becomes basically the treasury where we can jumpstart liquidity, or we can use it to buy notes on secondary if a bunch have been dumped, or whatever it is. That's the source of fees for the protocol. The second part of it is it does constrain supply in sort of an organic market-based way. So we see these sort of like jumps in claiming of notes from the contract based on the current point on the bonding line. So it got to like 0.2 something ETH like a month ago. Nobody claimed one for a while, but then our TVL went up and the cheap notes that were on secondary were all bought by somebody. And so suddenly that 0.2 whatever ETH seemed like a pretty good price for a note. So then like 10 more were claimed and the price went up to, around 0.3 or something. Then it stayed there for a while. But what it does is it creates this sort of limiting market-based limitation to the circulating supply of notes. And this will become really important once we get to that momentum mechanism where having a note becomes like a store of value itself. Even though obviously we're never using notes as backing collateral for DYAD, that would be endogenous collateral. But they become this sort of store of value and this thing that you're going to want to sell on secondary versus just kind of unwind and get rid of in order to leave the protocol. So again, that ultimately supports our external liquidity. But like I said at the beginning of the call, and Alice, I don't want to keep putting you on blast, but Alice is working on a cool contract that will allow anyone who owns a note to basically delegate the minting and burning and usage functions permissionlessly or to a permission group or whatever, so that you don't actually need to own a note yourself in order to participate in the system, even minting and burning, that kind of stuff.
Like a note loan program or something, or like a rent to own.
We're
rent to
also,
own.
yeah. So we're good friends with the Astaria XYZ team. Joseph DeLong, who's their CTO, is an angel in DYAD and very helpful advisor. So yeah, they're basically, as soon as they are able to bridge NFTs from mainnet to base, which is where they are, make some kind of representation of the NFT on base, we're gonna have a loan market for
Nice.
notes on Astaria. The other thing to keep in mind though
the
is
L2 that would be the first like connection would be based then.
yeah, well, no. So the first L2 that we're actually working with is Polygon ZK EVM, and you can already bridge DYAD over there and do some limited farming. But they are doing their full DeFi launch at the end of March, so we're going to be a pretty substantial part of that.
Good, and we did a lot for them. Like we've done 20-something badges for them and bounties. So that's cool that it's like a good connection for us to be able to talk to them about you guys too.
Yeah, well, Jack, their head of DeFi is I think one of the sharpest dudes in the space.
He's a badass.
super helpful.
So obviously you're not like we're going to be on mainnet forever and we're never leaving. Like guys are obviously already thinking about and branching out to L2s with Polygon and Blast. But the note will forever be on ETH.
The notes will forever be on mainnet. We're working with Wormhole to develop a way that DYAD itself, the stablecoin, always also has a representation on mainnet, kerosene as well. That you're never going to have flavors of DYAD that just exist on other chains, and it's unclear like what the redemption process is if you want to redeem your like ZK EVM DYAD. Is that different than mainnet DYAD? No. This is going to be another opportunity for single-sided DYAD staking, but basically on mainnet we're going to have a buffer pool of DYAD that is just in a contract and you earn some yield for putting it there, that is there to kind of buffer minting and burning on L2s. So if you're minting and burning DYAD on ZKVM or Base or wherever, you can do that, and the UX will be that you're just doing that on an L2, but actually it is settling on mainnet with DYAD that's on mainnet. And that's a super important part.
Like, I mean, that should be that's the future of ETH scaling. So like you're creating DYAD in a way that it matches with the ETH roadmap.
Totally. We're basically just doing a stablecoin version of how scaling should work. Totally.
That's cool. I'm gonna now we're past 45 minutes in, so I want to invite anybody else that wanted to come up and ask any questions. If you have time, Joey, I don't want to go over. We only got a few minutes.
No, I'm solid for the next 10 minutes.
Okay,
I'd love to.
So we got 10 minutes of questions. If anybody wants to raise their hand, we had a couple questions in chat that Joey already answered before the call even started. That's how I like to do my Q&As. So I know that we've got like some major people here that know a lot about it, and if anybody wanted to add anything on or ask if I missed any obvious questions. Otherwise, I just did a perfect job, and another payday for me, and mark this down in the book as another successful perfect graze. As long as the recording doesn't completely
Yeah,
jank out like yesterday.
dude, this was a great interview slash AMA everything. This was super good. I really appreciate also how like while my kids were running around in the background and I was kind of explaining these concepts in kind of a disjointed technical way, you were able to immediately glom on to what I was trying to say and kind of restate it in a very coherent, like I love the grinding a character in an MMO example for the notes, and yeah, also the way you describe kerosene, like you got it immediately, so super helpful. Oh, DeFi advisor, what's my daily routine? Okay, that's interesting.
Go to the gym
Yeah,
for like
so
2 hours, get real jacked.
I mean, it's yeah, I would say like you know, I have three kids, so they're pretty instrumental in defining the routine at this point. But early morning it's just kind of like survival, getting them off to school. And then when it's right after that, I do go to the gym in the morning. Then I have breakfast and deal with like any fires that need to get put out. I've started to not keep my phone in the room where I sleep. That's just helped a lot with sleeping, even though there's always stuff I could be doing. I just kind of said like after my kids are asleep, I'm not doing any more phone stuff after I try to go to sleep. But obviously, like there's ways that that people on the team can reach me if something's like really serious going on. And then yeah, for the after I take care of stuff that needs to get taken care of, I go for a like hour walk, usually doing a call. And then after that, it's just kind of like deep work time until my kids are back home. And then it's family time. So yeah, it's pretty productive. I would have been like horrified before becoming a father that I had such a condensed amount of time during the day to actually do the deep work because I used to just do that literally 24/7.
Yeah, all the time.
But actually the work has gotten a lot more valuable and I've gotten a lot more productive because it is more structured and I do have to condense things and it's just constant Pareto principle, like what is the most effective thing I can be doing at this moment instead of
What is the
just
biggest hole I need to fill at this exact moment in my life? Because I might only have 7 minutes.
exactly.
God, I feel like I don't
Exactly.
get anything done at all some days. Like, other than just like basic catch up between bouncing, and then I have got a kindergartner and bigger grades, so the different pickup times. So I'm basically just a goddamn Uber driver.
I think that like compared to other areas of tech, I've met a lot of parents in DeFi who are like, really involved in DeFi. And I think there's something to that. I think it's like there is this stereotype of like the tech bro who thinks they're like solving some big world problem, but they're really like making it easier to get your laundry done or whatever. But I think that what we are working on and like specifically trying to build a better system for like storing and transferring value, which is so fundamental to any type of like civilization or quality of life. Actually, like I don't think I would be doing this as intensely as I am if I didn't think like my kids are gonna have to live in this world as adults and like what will that world look like? You know what I mean?
The crypto ethos is bigger than our pet projects.
Totally. But it's like when dealing with like some levels of bullshit and frustrating situations that you have to as a DeFi founder, it does actually like it does help to keep that in mind that like this is all completely worth it to do this stuff because what we're doing is has the potential to be incredibly important. And that's not to say like I'm not at all like against like Bowden or whatever the shitcoins are right now. I think that that's a beautiful part of the culture. And like I said, like the cutting edge and the periphery and like the edge of sort of like acceptability is pretty much the same in DeFi. And I think if you look at history, like most things that end up massively changing the world do start that way. And I think it's a good indication, if anything.
Thank you for that answer. That was a good one. And that probably wraps it for us and gets you a chance to get back to some family time. We got to go paint some stuff green, dump some green
Oh yeah.
in the toilet. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. And
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me. Any other questions you have about DYAD? I mean, there's a really good number of DYAD community in the audience right now, which is awesome. Robo, Odin, Chadnick. I mentioned the others who were here before. Canis is here now. This is really great. But yeah, join us in our Discord. I'm there every day. Any follow-up questions you have, feel free to DM me, but it's also really nice to ask them in the Discord. We have a lot of very helpful people.
okay, and any of I joined the Discord. I'm already on there, and I'll post the recording there and yours also. And then we need if you can DM me anything you want me to include in the announcement when I announce the recording being posted. So
Oh, for sure.
maybe something about or I can wait until you guys have like the landing page for the token claim for the
Oh,
airdrop.
that might be better. Let us get the check claim page up at least, so that once you post the announcement, people can immediately check to see what their kerosene allocation will be.
Nice, that'd be a good combo.
Yeah, once we have that up, that'll be like tomorrow. I'll shoot you the link and you can include that in the
All
announcement.
right, that'll be awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, and a really cool project. I'm glad to hear about it.
Oh yeah, thank you, Cogsy, Dina, and Llamas. After this call, I think I'm even more happy that you're one of the 4 who are going to be getting the airdrop. So yeah, like I said, any follow-ups before that announcement goes out, don't hesitate to DM me or just come in on the DYAD Discord and ask.
Thank you, and everybody on the call. If you're not old men like me and Joey with 3 kids, feel free to go to the bar and have some green Guinness, like the olden days.
I recall those days. Yeah, I'm about
84
to
years ago.
take my youngest to swim right now, which is a fun way to take
Have a
off
good day,
St. Paddy.
guys.
All right, have a good one, everybody. Thanks for having me. Bye.